In today's video, I'm going to share how to crochet this really pretty heart stitch and tulip stitch in a row. I decided to show how to do both because they have similar multiples and stitches which make them great companions. First I'll share how to make the heart, next the tulip, and then some tips at the end on how you can alter the pattern, as well as how I combine them to make this simple stitch sampler. For the samples that you see in the video, I'm using a worsted weight cotton yarn with a 4mm hook. To begin, create a chain using your neutral or main color that is a multiple of 6 plus 1 plus 3 at the end for your turning chain. Now this number distinction will be important later on if you want to include this in other patterns or projects. So for example here, I'm starting with 18 stitches for my multiple of 6, plus 1 more to give me 19, and then 3 more at the very end to give me 22 total. I like to leave my finger on that plus 1 because then I know that's where I want my first stitch to go. Add a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook. By the way, that turning chain does not count as a stitch. And then continue creating double crochets into each chain across. This is going to give me a total of 19 double crochets. For row 2, chain 1 and turn, and create a single crochet in the very first stitch. Continue doing a single crochet in each stitch across. If I'm working on a big project, I always find using a stitch marker helps me to keep on track for the very first and last stitch. This is a small sample, so I'm not doing it here, but I would recommend it. And now we're ready for our first color change, so go ahead and grab your heart color. You can change color in 2 different ways. You can either fasten off and then fasten back on with a new color, or you can do what I'm going to do here. I like to finish the last stitch of the row with the new color. Just backtrack until you have 2 loops left on your hook for that very last stitch. Grab your new yarn and pull it through the loops. I like to tie the 2 ends together. I don't double knot this, I just tie it just to hold it in place. And now we're ready for row 3. Chain 2 and turn. This is going to serve as our first double crochet. Here on the side we're going to work half of a heart, and we're going to be doing this with double crochets together. We've already created our first double crochet and now we're going to do 2 more, but to do them together we're not going to complete them fully. To do this, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. Again, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. You should see 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. You've just created half of a heart. Chain 2, and now we're going to do a full heart. Moving over, skip 5 stitches and work into the 6th stitch. We're going to do the first half of our heart, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop, yarn over, back in, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and in, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. That's the first half of your heart completed. Chain 2, and let's do the other side. Working into the same stitch, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. One more time, yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, pull through 2. And now yarn over and pull your yarn through all 4 stitches. That's your full heart completed. Chain 2, and now you're just going to repeat this all the way across, skipping 5 stitches and work your next heart into the 6th stitch. And once you've reached the end, you're going to do the same thing, but you're just going to do half of a heart instead. So working into that 6th stitch, yarn over, going into that last stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, go in, pull through 2, one more, in, pull through 2. You can either pull your yarn through and fasten off, or you can join your new color here. Grab your main color and pull through all 4 loops to complete that stitch. And now we're ready for row 4. Chain 1 and turn. To begin, we're going to add a single crochet into the top of the first half heart. You'll find that stitch sort of to the left of that heart. Chain 1. And now we're going to add half double crochets into the stitches below. Out of those 5 stitches, pick the 3 in the middle. To create a half double crochet, yarn over, go into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. Two and 3. Next, chain 2 to get over to the middle of the heart and create a single crochet into that chain 2 space. Chain 2 again. Now we're going to repeat the process. We're going to do 3 half double crochets into those 3 stitches right below that chain space. There are 5 stitches there, just pick those 3 in the middle. 2 and 3. Chain 2 again. Single crochet into the middle of the heart. Chain 2. 3 half double crochets into the stitches below. And once you reach the end, chain 1 again, and then a single crochet into that very last half heart. And now we're ready for our final row. Go ahead and chain 2 and turn. We're going to get our stitch count back on track. Work a double crochet into the top of that very first stitch. Your chain 2 does not count as a double crochet. Next, add a double crochet into that chain 1 space. Now let's do a double crochet into the top of those 3 half doubles. 1, 2, and 3. That last one is a bit tight there. Just get in there. Let's add a double crochet into that chain 2 space, a double into the single crochet in the middle of that heart, a double into the next chain 2 space, and now we're just going to repeat this across. And then after your final 3 half double crochets in that little chain 1 space, add a double crochet. And then in that very last single crochet, add your final double crochet. Now your stitch count should be back on track. I need 19 and I have 19. To begin, create a chain with a multiple of 3 plus 1 and then 1 more for the turning chain. This distinction is important if you want to use this stitch for other patterns. So for example, I'm doing a chain of 18 for my multiple of 3 plus 1 more, giving me 19, plus 1 more for my turning chain. Now instead of doing 1 row of double crochets, we're going to do 2 rows of single crochets. So create a single crochet in the second chain from the hook. Continue adding single crochets in each chain across. Once you've reached the end, chain 1 and turn. Working into that very first stitch, add a single crochet and continue adding single crochets in each stitch across. Once you reach the end, we're going to switch colors. We're going to be doing the leaves. You can either fasten off completely and fasten on with your green color, or you can do what I'm going to do here. With 2 loops remaining on your hook, bring in your new color and pull it through the stitch. You've just completed that last single crochet and started your new color. To begin row 3, chain 4 and turn. In that very first stitch, add a double crochet. This is essentially a V-stitch and it's going to serve as your leaves. Next, skip 2 stitches. In the 3rd stitch, we're going to create another V-stitch. Add a double crochet. This time chain 2 and then add another double crochet into the same stitch. Skip 2 stitches and in the 3rd stitch add another V-stitch. Double crochet, chain 2 and then double crochet into the same stitch. Continue this all the way across. Once you've reached the end, add a double crochet into that very last stitch. And again, just chain 1 and then double crochet into the same stitch. It is time to change colors again, so if you want to change colors in the final stitch, leave the 2 remaining loops on the hook and then bring in your tulip color. Otherwise, you can just fasten off and fasten on with your new color. Turn your work and do a slip stitch into the center of your first leaf. Chain 2. This is going to serve as your first double crochet. And just like the heart, we're going to do double crochets together. This first leaf is going to have 3 doubles in total. So yarn over, going into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull your yarn through, yarn over and pull through 2. You should see 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Chain 2. And now we're going to do 4 double crochets together for our tulip. Yarn over, going into your leaf space, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, again, yarn over, going into the space, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2, again, yarn over, into the space, pull your yarn through, yarn over, pull through 2. And one more time. Yarn over, into the space, pull your yarn through, pull through 2. You should see 5 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 5 loops. And that is 4 double crochets together. Chain 2. And now you're just going to continue this all the way across. Create a tulip with 4 double crochets together. Chain 2 and then repeat. And then once you reach the end, you'll go back to just a 3 double crochet together to complete your final tulip. You can either complete the stitch by pulling the yarn through and then fasten off to change your color, or bring in your main color and finish your last stitch with it. For row 5, chain 1 and turn. And add a single crochet into the top of your tulip. Next, add 2 single crochets in the chain 2 space. Add a single crochet into the top of your next tulip. Look for the stitch towards the left. And continue this all the way across. 1 single in the top of your tulip and 2 single crochets in the chain 2 spaces. And then once you've reached the end, your stitch count should be back on track. I needed 19 stitches and I have 19. For row 6, chain 1 and turn, and add a single crochet into the top of your very first stitch. And then just continue on adding single crochets in every stitch across. And there you go. The double crochets together create a lovely textured stitch called the puff stitch. Now if you want that puff to show up on the front of your work, then you'll want to work those double crochets together on the wrong side of your work, or in other words, on an even numbered row. The easiest way to do this is to omit flipping your work when you get to the heart or the flower. Instead, fasten off completely and return to the very beginning and fasten back on right above the previous row. This will keep you on the wrong side. And then once you've completed that row, you can return back to turning your work as normal. If you want to use these stitches in other patterns, just remember to add that +1 stitch to your multiple. You won't need the turning chain number unless you're creating a foundation chain to start the pattern. To make the sampler, I just did both of the patterns as you saw in the video. After I finished the heart pattern, I just turned my work and started the tulip. As I did this, I used a white to give a little bit more contrast with that first row of single crochets, but you'll notice here that I started on the wrong side, which shows the back of the single crochet. This gives it a little bit more depth. For the other rows, I fastened off completely and then started that first row on the right side, which gave the white a more subtle look. And I just did this to show you some ideas on how you can play with the stitches to get different effects. If you enjoyed these stitches and would like to learn more on how to do a stitch sampler blanket, here are a couple of videos that I think you'll enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.